everybody. Welcome to Shooting the Shift. We are all back again. There is a Milton.
Hello. Hi.
There is a Matt.
Oh.
There's a Bryn.
Hi.
And I'm Bam, your regular host or something, I guess. This week...
Bam?
What?
Can I ask people just to stop watching for a second and just scroll up and press the like button now, turn their phone sideways and press like, and then carry on watching.
Do you mean subscribe and like?
And like, yeah. Just getting it in. They're already subscribed because they're watching us. Just getting in before...
Okay. Yeah, don't wait for the content, just like the video.
Yeah, because if
and
you're
then put your phone
friends,
on silent, walk away, leave the episode till the end. That'll help us too.
Yeah, you can also open up the playlist in a new tab on mute and just let the VRS videos play all day.
Yeah, that works.
And comment on them, just put a random word in.
Yeah. Tell us what you would send Bryn if we got a PO box in the comments.
Because he's been getting lots of gifts, haven't you?
Yeah, last week, right, I randomly got a bonsai tree, which turned out was from my friend Will, and it wasn't random. He'd been intending to send me a bonsai tree for a while.
He got you a bonsai tree.
He got me a bonsai tree. And then Chris was jealous of the bonsai tree and sent me some moss and a nettle. And Milton was jealous that I got some moss and a nettle, which, by the way, it is potted. There's some potted moss in my kitchen now. And Milton sent me some more bonsai trees, which I'm actually really excited about, but I'm running out of space in my house for plants.
I had that kit, Bryn.
Is it good?
I killed them all.
Oh.
Welcome to Shoot the Shift, where we talk about bonsai tree kits.
That might be a future episode, a whole episode of just me and Bryn chatting about bonsai trees. Right, anyway, so let's get to the point. This week, I think we are going to be talking about, quite frankly, the
Pokemon
greatest
cards.
era in modifying car history.
Is it...
Max Power and Sex Spec.
Max Power!
That could only have been better if Bryn had done an impression of Richie Don.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, it's alright.
He's a
Probably
DJ.
for the best.
That's all I know.
He still hangs on at some of the shows at Santa Pod, and you just hear DJ Richie Don. Richie Don, make you bounce. And you're like, that was 20 years ago, mate.
Yeah.
You said 20 years ago. I had a look before we started. And the Max Power era in the UK, I think, got its name from the magazine Max Power.
Yeah.
And they were running until 2010. So it's not that long ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Not only that magazine only came out for its first edition in 1993. I was already 7 years old.
I wasn't even alive yet.
No way, you're not that young, are you?
I am that young.
He is actually 12, Milton, and he's
How are you that smart? You've got that good of a... I'm you, Bryn.
Because
I've already sworn. You can bleep that.
Read Max Power magazine.
I never did, actually.
You never read, right? So Max Power. What else was there? There was other ones.
Redline was my go-to.
Yeah, Redline, Max Power.
There's a few generic
Jack
cars.
Performance.
I think Jatfest.
Banzai.
Max Power always stood out to me because they built their own cars as well.
That's why I liked Redline.
Yeah,
they had
Banzai
their
Performance.
own cars, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for UK magazines now. Fast Car.
Yep, fast, yeah.
I have one of those.
What,
I thought
a
you've
fast
got
car or the magazine?
No, I definitely do not have a fast car.
You will when that's built.
It'll just be
Fitted.
slower and louder.
The rest of it's just like what car and used cars and
Yeah, I think getting back on topic. So like,
yeah,
the Max Power era, right, and Sex Spec is like what I grew up on. Genuinely, what I grew up on.
So the Australian call it Sex Spec, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think the rest of the world calls it that purely because
They didn't have
we
Max
only
Power.
got Max Power because of the magazine. I think that's where that name came from. But I think the rest of the world called it Sex Spec. I'm not sure whether they called it that in America as well.
I can't tell you how excited I was to see a Citroen C2 at a show in 2019. Like, full body kit, mint green, giant max power sticker, like, on the front windscreen.
That's a good point, though, because I've seen a few people doing this, and I think Monkey London's done it with a couple now, where they found old abandoned max power era cars that are still as they were in the mid-2000s, and they pulled them out, cleaned them up, and started driving them around.
Yeah.
Bryn's already not agreeing with the rest of us here.
I like the idea of it because it was always unique. It's not just a financed Euro hatchback on financed air ride and financed wheels.
And that
You
gets to the
grumpy old man.
Yes, I'm a grumpy old man.
No, but he's also right. Because you can't whack.
I'm always right.
You cannot whack a massive DIY body kit on your financed Golf.
Fiesta, Golf, Civic, Corsa,
Saxos,
Clio.
Corsa Limited Edition, don't forget that.
Insert generic Euro.
It was mostly hatchbacks, wasn't it? Like, I'm looking at the Google images.
Not at all.
Not
at all. My favourite bit of the whole Max Power era was 197 miles an hour down the A1M from Smokey Nagata.
In Mexico.
No, not in Mexico. On the A1M in a Supra.
That's not Max Power car though.
That was done for Max Power magazine.
Yeah, but that's not a Max Power car. That was like actually a performance car.
It wasn't Max Power by description.
Didn't he get pulled over as well? But they didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he got arrested for it.
Yeah.
Just as a side note, I've searched Max Power era to try and bring up cars and stuff, and there's a screenshot of The Simpsons where Homer Simpson changed his name to Max Power. Just as a random note.
I miss it. I miss that everything was unique.
Individuality.
Yeah.
I got into cars at the tail end of that. So when I started getting into cars, everyone was coming out of that and going, I want OEM literally everything. That's where I came in. But the thing with Max Power is that they had that Peugeot 306 on Top Gear way back. And
they was against like really old cars, wasn't it?
It was an Austin Healey, I think it was. And because the 306 had a V6 put in it, so that some of the Max Power cars, let's be real as well, had performance mods as well, big brakes, big engine, all the rest of it. A lot of them ran with NOS as well.
But that was so you could move your stereo around at more than 3 miles an hour.
Yeah, and that was the problem. They crammed then so many speakers and big electric leather heated seats and screens galore and all the rest of it that it was still slow.
It's not just the speakers, it's the wired. And I remember I had a friend that was like started to get into it. He said to go into a sound off competition or whatever, they'll check the wiring, and they need like an inch thick earth cable every 6 or whatever. And you're thinking that must weigh a ton.
Yeah.
That's the other reason. Like this whole thing of having a full build that's kind of everything has probably disappeared because the guys who are into the audio more than anything else now just build sound cars.
Yeah.
And you have your competition for that. And the guys that were into the body kits and the show and shine, well, Rocket Bunny's about now, so they're all happy that they can have wide arch again.
Crash.
And no fitment.
Rocket, as a slight diversion, right? Rocket Bunny, the Rocket Bunny era, that very brief period when it was good for like 2 or 3 years, came out. Rocket Bunny was the thing. It was the new thing. The bolt-on arches looked amazing. And then for some reason, they started doing kits where it's physically impossible to achieve fitment with a drivable car.
MX-5 kit, Brad.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. on the MX-5. There's a guy trying, and he's got some banded steel wheels, and I respect him for trying to make it work. They're 12J ET0, and he still can't. And he's going to have to put 25mm spacers on, and he still can't get.
I think the problem is they got popular really quickly because they made good kits, and then what they did was started churning them out at lesser quality.
For every single car known to man.
And they tried to design them for every single car, and they just started churning them out. And you look at the Mark 1 MX-5 kit, I'm not a fan of the front lip. The arches don't sit right, and they've just gone with their trademark rear, whatever you call it, the spoiler thing on the back.
But
ducktail.
The big problem they have is that they started making the arches just higher and higher and higher for lower and lower cars. If you remember Sean's RX-7, the wheels he had on that were stupid. They were enormous. I can't remember if they were like 19s or 20s or something. But
something like that, yeah.
Big wheel with a meaty tyre on it. And that tyre was rubbing the upper chassis, and he still couldn't get it low enough to properly fill the arches. And that's the problem with all the Rocket Bunny kits now. When they first started with that first GT86 kit, and even earlier, the S-Body kits, like, they look amazing at a functional ride height. And then they just went for this, unless it's actually sat on the floor on air ride, you can't fill it. And it was awful.
Yeah.
But I think, so this is the thing, though. Like, when you're building the kit yourself, Brian, I'm gonna convert you by the end of this episode to my way of thinking about this.
I know where you're gonna come from on this bit, and I don't disagree with it. But go on.
Just building that kit yourself, doing the DIY work, learning to fiberglass, learning how to take a mold, everything. That was, to me, that's what that era was about. But actually, you guys turn around and say that Smokey Supra wasn't a max power car. It's from that era, and a lot of the cars about weren't big mental body kits. Some of them were quite subtle modifications as well. So to me, that is a max power car. It's just not got a sound system in it.
The thing with that is that when you say to somebody max power car, what they think of is big, garish, ridiculous body kits on cars that are painted stupidly loud colours with a stupid stereo.
I don't like people having fun.
That's what I think of when I'm the same with Matt. I think of your 8-year-old brother who's playing on Need for Speed. What does he design? He puts every part on it that he can, every sticker, and it looks awful, but it kind of works.
Yeah, but Milton, but you're 12 and you didn't live in that era.
I think the other thing to point out around this sort of era is another thing that we probably all watched at some point. Is Pimp My Ride. Don't get me started on
essentially
the same thing.
Lies.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the program itself wasn't fabricated, blah, 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 blah. But you look at the result of what they were producing, and that's the same sort of thing that we're talking about. They just took it a lot further because they had more money to throw at it.
Or not, as the case was.
Yeah.
Those were quite nice, though. Like, it's kind of, you think about the American hot rodding and lowriders, right? That's kind of similar in that it's in your face. It's meant to be in your face. The difference is when you look at a lowrider with the loud ass Larry paint jobs and all the pinstriping and stuff, you think that is actually kind of classy. And then you look at a Saxo that's bright green with glitter on it and these horrible wings. And you just look at it and go, that looks like you just crashed into a Need for Speed game, took it all with you and blended it in with filler. It's gaudy in a not good way.
I'm not going to deny there's people that ram-raided Halfords, Bren.
I was going to say that was the joke.
Most of them.
Rip speed.
Max power cars, right, were like tramp stamps. There's a few good ones, but most of them, you look at them and go, wow, you couldn't think of anything better to do than that.
I mean, one of the other things...
So you go out, you get your Saxo. What are you doing to it, Bryn?
Not that, Bam! Not that!
So let's hear, as someone who's going to modify a car in that era, what is Bryn going to do to a Saxo? Let's hear it.
The thing is, right there, it's a little bit of a difference in what you're looking for, okay? The whole max power thing, like you said, it was about individuality, people doing it themselves and wanting to be different, okay? my experience of people who want to be different is usually the only way they can think of to be different is to make something disgusting that nobody has done because it doesn't look good, right? My opinion is the opposite of that. I look at what everybody else does and I pick the bits that each person has done that I like, and then you try and do that as good as possible.
And
but
that's what actually happened, though, Brent.
No, it isn't what actually happened. We've all seen the cars, bam, jump, chat shit. But that's the OEM plus kind of mindset, was the making everything work together, look subtle, look like it could have come from the factory because it was that well done. And Max Power cars did not look like that.
OEM plus is more boring than going to church on Sunday with your nan.
Not always. OEM plus is probably the wrong thing to call it, right? Because OEM plus now probably means, you lower it and you put some wheels on it and you keep it factory. I don't mean keep it factory. I mean modify the car, but make it look like it could have come from the factory. Think proper VIP cars where you look at them and they're widened 2 inches, but you can't tell where it's been done. Or the bumpers are smooth and you're not really sure where they've smoothed the bumper. Whereas in the Max Power era, you can't tell where the original bumper ended and where the horrible winglet starts. Because the blend has been really well done, but for some reason they've still put this absolute god-awful garish...
But that was... Part of that was the fact that everybody was making their own. So you look at the early Rocket Bunny things, and they know how to make the lines work, flow, and everything because they've got designers. They know how to make molds properly, and they can do it properly so it follows the lines of the car. If you're doing it at home, I know for a fact if I was trying to do that to my car, it would look like shit.
And that's why they all did. But granted, everybody was having a whale of a time. Like you watch the videos of the show. No. Everybody is loving life, and that is good. But you cannot tell me those cars look good.
Not all of them looked bad. There was a few that were made by proper shops, and they were to a goodish standard.
There's always you go to any show, even now, and you go and you walk around, and there are a lot of cars that are built like and probably shouldn't be there. Mine included most of the time, but there are gems amongst all of the sea of cars.
Do you know what? I've just gone on a website and I am now genuinely sad. Because madmotors.co.uk is not Mad Motors anymore. So Mad Motors is where you went to get your body kit that was built in that area. And you just get a front bumper and you get your skirts and you get your rear bumper and you get your mental spoiler for your Saxo. So it wasn't all about homemade. Which I think is the other thing that people get wrong. There was a lot of professionally built kits about at that time. And actually, Brent, the other side of that is because you're not rolling around in a brand new 30 grand Golf that you've got on finance and the bank owns, and instead you're rolling around in a grand's worth of Saxo, anyone with a job can afford to spend 600 quid on a fiberglass kit and try and make it fit, right? And anyone with a job can spend $1,000 on stereo kit.
I think the other thing to point out there is we're talking about an era that's pre-recession as well. So everybody had a bit more money to spend. So everybody went out and bought 600 quid body kits because they could afford it.
Also, I think it's a different generation. That generation was a lot of people did a lot of the stuff themselves.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of in the last sort of generation of trying stuff myself or self-teaching, and whereas kids, you see the younger bit and it's all, I paid this shop to do it and I got my stage 62 remap and it's got a stage 4 lip and they just pay, so that's why they can't get to full builds, and all they can afford is.
I think that overlaps a little bit on our right to repair conversation from last week. Is the fact that nobody can repair anything, so they haven't learnt the skills to be able to go and modify their car.
Yeah.
Granted, there are some people out there that do go out there and learn how to do it.
That makes sense because they're spending so much money on making sure it's running and actually working instead of spending that on making it look different.
The other point is the fact that you're working on a finance car that's a couple of years old. that you can't repair because the manufacturer makes it really difficult for you to repair, which means just change the suspension. Like, for example, to change the ball, I put lowering springs on my car, and you have to take the drop links off. Right? No drama, take the bolt off, like an MX-5, take it out. But what they've done is put a captive nut inside the middle. So you have to put an Allen key through it, then a ring spanner over it to undo it. You ruin it, you have to throw the drop links away and put new ones on.
But I think
a lot of cars have got that now. Actually,
I don't think that's even what went on there, right? I don't think the fact that manufacturers decided that they were going to make things more complex to repair is the problem. I think the problem is actually stems from that OEM Plus era that Bryn likes so much, in everybody wanting to have the best, and therefore then finance comes in and they go, well, to get the ultimate OEM Plus, I'm going to buy the top of the line car that I can't really afford outright, and then you can't go and pick up a Saxo when you're 17 from Doris down the road who's 93.
Yeah, it's today's generation. It's so expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's a bit different though. But I agree, that is a problem with a lot of the stuff now. Is the place to start is something new. People just want the new car.
They want to show up.
Right? Yeah. Whereas I love about the Max Power era, like you said, people were buying just normal cars and then putting all that money into modifying them. And the OEM Plus stuff, you do get that. You get some of the MX-5s out there which have so much money put into them that it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they just look incredible because they've done the same thing. They've taken a cheap car and just gone at it and modified it and modified it and modified it. And that was good about Max Power era, and that I'm in agreement with that bit.
So, and I've not really got a thing against OEM Plus. My Punto, which to me is a Max Power build, but some people would have looked at it and gone, that's OEM Plus, had seats from an Alpha 147, steering wheel from a Alpha 147, vents from an Audi TT.
There was a lot of that going on, where they were pinching.
Yeah, you pinching
stuff from other cars.
You pinch stuff that fits from other cars, and that's
someone did that on the MX-5, didn't they? Chris Hood Repo did it on his MX-5. He was one of the first people to do it, I think.
Yeah.
The Audi ones or an Eclipse or something.
That's the RX-8 seats in an MX-5 is quite common.
Yeah, that's quite cool.
Like the leather seats.
I've got a set of Lotus Elise seats in my 5.
Yeah.
Which I had a chance to sit in some of those.
They're nice.
Yeah, not if you're my size, because everyone goes, they're a really nice lightweight seat that holds you in. I rattle around in them. Didn't find it comfortable.
They are the only bucket seat if you're a fat lad that you're getting in an MX-5 though.
The big boy.
It would be fantastic for that. Absolutely.
Can confirm 110% that works if you're a fat lad.
That's why me and Bryn have got the slim boy one.
Yeah.
Bryn, I could stop you rattling about in my seats. I'd just do the harnesses up properly tight.
Yeah, but then it's still uncomfortable. You just sort of like, I have a little thin bucket seat. Like my friend Callum, when he tried to drive my car, couldn't get past the side bolsters. He just sort of sat on top of them.
I let, Rads, Richard W. Smith, he's like 8-9 foot tall. And to drive my car, he could only use the clutch and the brake. He couldn't lift his left leg up to move the foot brake. So he only had the clutch, the hydro, and the foot brake to drive. That was interesting.
Was the throttle?
Yeah, throttle. Sorry. Clutch and throttle.
Not very far, but he loved it.
Clutch and throttle, and he was sitting on the seat. He wasn't in it.
Yeah, I had that when I drove your car. Like I wedged myself in the seat, but because your seat's fixed to the floor and I'm shorter than you, I could barely reach the pedals, so I perched on the edge of the seat.
But
you're not that.
Anyway,
you're a small boy.
Anyway, off topic.
Back on topic. So I think the other thing from that era, right, and it's definitely more Sex Spec than Max Power, because I don't remember seeing many sets of these in the UK. But what happened to spinners? Where did they go?
Oh,
that was
God.
See, when I think of spinners, I think more American for that.
Yeah.
I just think of Need for Speed, the Shuriken ones. They gave the best star rating.
What's wrong, Brian?
Just no.
Do you not think spinners are cool?
No, they're like shoving 4 PlayStations in a car. They were just gaudy for gaudy's sake. They only existed because how can I make myself look more of an arse than any other arse?
Oh, Bryn, on that,
going.
How many PlayStations is an acceptable number of PlayStations to install in your car then, Bryn?
No!
0.
Fucking none.
Milton, did I just hear a 1 there?
Yeah, because you can only use one at a time. If I'm camping in my car at a show overnight, boom.
You can't play on my PlayStation when I get one in the boot of the Spike. That's it.
One. Do you know when I want a PlayStation? When I'm sat at home on my sofa with fuck all else to do. Do you know when I don't want a PlayStation? When I'm anywhere that I would have to drive to get to.
Back to spinners.
Yeah.
What if I told you there's a company still making them and they're on an OEM car?
What?
Oh, the Bentley ones.
Yes, why are you so smart? Yeah, Bentleys have spinners.
It's either Bentley or Rolls Royce, but yeah, one of them.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about. It's the Rolls Royce centre caps.
It's a spinner. It stays.
So the centre cap and the Rolls Royce wheels stay the correct way up because they rotate around, so they've obviously got a bearing in, and they stay the correct way up no matter what happens to the wheel.
That's all a spinner is really at the end of the day.
We need to find a way to modify that so that they stay the right way up while you're driving along, but as soon as you brake, they start going round.
Well, that's what a spinner was. So a spinner would be stationary while you were moving and then spin when you stop. These Rolls-Royce ones only stay the correct way up. They don't spin when you stop.
They're just weighted then, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, weighted on a bearing, something simple like that.
On another side note, I wonder if they break how much it costs to get new centre cap spinners from a Rolls-Royce dealer.
I shall have a look.
Imagine just turning up to Quick Fit and you just see them, they just pop it on the wheel balancer and just clonk the... Because that's how you get them off on normal cars. You just give it a tap, they just push it on the wheel balancer.
So
Floating centre caps is what their official name is.
£500, my guess, each.
Ooh, I'm going to go $250.
Bam, what's your guess for floating centre caps?
I don't even want to know.
Oh, hang on. If we have to look, you can't afford it. That's what it is, isn't it? It doesn't have a price. It's in the catalogue and you can buy it. It's just a yes.
Should we stop ruining people's days where we've told them we're going to talk about max power cars and then getting onto Bentleys?
But
look, I'll turn the neons back on so that everybody's happy.
There were no max power Bentleys. Hang on.
No, but
were there any max power Bentleys?
Think about it. Bentley and Rolls Royce are the only cars you really can buy, and you can get snakeskin leather, and the options are a bit max power, right? You can make them gordish, right?
Really can.
And name another car that manufacturer you can go in and go, I want to have this.
Amazingly hard to find.
Lambo can't really get that gaudy, can you?
You can go into Lambo and ask them for what you want. You can't go into Ferrari and ask them to put Nyan Cat on your car, though.
No.
They're not okay with that.
Lamborghinis only come in Gary colours, so...
Yeah.
But a paint job is different, but the inside of putting...
So let's get back on topic. When you think max power cars, right?
I do think of Need for Speed.
Yeah. No, everybody does, because that's Need for Speed, Underground and Max Power are the same era.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good point, though, because what we're seeing is now a lot of this is coming back. So people are buying body kits, they're putting neons on the car and stuff. And I think what that's a result of is the likes of us that grew up playing Need for Speed around the Max Power era have now got enough money to modify a car, and they go, well, actually, I really want neons because that's what I grew up with.
Neons are cool.
So we're starting to see a resurgence of that stuff because that's what we grew up with and that's what we wanted at the time.
There is a trend going back to more mental, plain.
but in a good way, I think, because you're getting the combination of the people who went a little bit more subtle and more for the OEM Plus and the Max Power. And you look at stuff like the low origin cars are a great example of people who are going back to that. They've got body kits, they're stupid low, the wheels are ridiculous, and the liveries on them are really in your face. But they look classy doing it now. It's big, it's in your face, it's garish, it's bright the fuck yellow, and it's this close to the ground. But I don't look at it and hate it. I look at it and go, yeah, yes, absolutely.
I think it helps that they work as well.
I reckon if you were my age, Bryn, you would look at a Max Power car and think like that.
Yeah, but no.
I think because he's so engineering and good and clever, he looks at it and go, well, that's not good, and that's not good.
No, because he's so engineering and good and clever, he would have been one of the worst ones for DIYing it. He would have gone, well, I could just do this. And all of a sudden, there would be a Ford KA rolling out with 20 PlayStations in the boot, 500 batteries, and somehow the thing would still move.
Yes. So, Bryn, are you saying a car that's on air ride and just got some expensive wheels and lots of wax isn't a nice car?
I'm saying it's boring. I'll outright say it.
I'm throwing shade here.
But it is boring. I see one driving past me. I see quite a lot driving past me because there's a place in my village that does air ride. I see these cars and I look at them and think that, that's really, really nice. And some of the builds that those guys do are actually amazing. They're very simple, but like really classy. And I see one in the wild and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. But I don't want to go to a show and just see 20 of them.
I remember we were at Ultimate Dubs a couple of years ago filming. And someone just commented that I missed a whole section of the show and shine out. And I just replied to them with, that's because I filmed what I thought was interesting.
I think the thing is, for me, the reason I find them uninteresting is you go to a lot of show and shine and they're really clean. They put air ride on them and they put some nice wheels on. That's all I do to a daily driver, not a car I'm taking to a show.
Yeah.
Like, you lower it, you put some nice wheels on it so it looks cool, and then daily drive it because you don't need to do anything else. Like my Mazda 6 has Bluetooth, so I don't need to change the stereo and all of that. It's comfortable inside.
Yeah.
I don't need to add soundproofing because it rattles the shit out of you when you go at 70 miles an hour because it's a 6-year-old car. And that's it. I don't need to do anything to it. And that, I think that's part of the thing. You buy an old MX-5 and it needs a new stereo in it because you can't connect your phone to it because they still have tape players in. They rattle, so you need to put better sound deadening in. You've got to lower them and put wheels on that. So there's actually a build process to it.
I mean,
Grandad.
I would just like to fundamentally disagree with this idea that you have to change the stereo on an old car, because my Passat has a tape player and a 6 CD changer, and I have kept those, and I am living that naughty's life, and I change my 6 CDs every week.
You don't have to change it, but to connect your phone to it, you do. And that's what most people do.
You don't know.
Go in the tape player and has an MP3.
You should get one of those.
I've done that.
One of those from the 2000s, right? You get one of those tapes with the wire that comes out of it. And
I've done that.
the headphone socket on your phone, and you're away. You don't need a new head unit.
No, then a Bluetooth adapter.
Yeah, but we're getting to a point now where you can buy a stereo with an auxiliary cable for 20 quid.
Matt, you are outvoted.
Brent, explosion!
This is just descending into madness.
All right, let me
like the Max Power era. So let's get back on topic now that we've had a little rant about the scene as it stands, right?
For God's sake.
The thing I remember about that era genuinely being a million times better than now is that you just kind of respected people's wrench time. No matter where. You didn't get that guy who just goes, well, I wouldn't have done it that way because it says on the internet that you shouldn't do it that way. The internet says you should turbo everything.
The internet wasn't around then,
that is very true.
There was a lot less keyboard warriors.
Because there was no keyboards to warrior on.
Yes, and that is the big difference. Everybody did it their own way because there was no internet, and therefore
there was an internet.
I was going to say Facebook started in 2004, so the internet existed.
There was a community of people that you could talk to and get opinions from, and ask how you do something.
That's what I miss. Proper forums.
Yeah, that's the different. And everyone had a build thread.
Yeah. So you found somebody with a really nice car and you could go and follow it.
I remember I read someone about he had a S13 and I couldn't even drive then, and I used to read his blog about how his car was having this problem, and he didn't do anything. He didn't know anything, but then he done it all himself. And
that's where forums are where I gained all my MX5 knowledge from. You go back to the MX5 nuts.
MX5 nuts.
And somebody would go, okay, how do you do this? Yeah, here's a thread on how you do it. And somebody would take photos, and build a guide that was that you could just follow step by step. And I think that's probably what's probably missing from a lot of people, where they're trying to do a modification on a car now.
If you ask on a Facebook group how to do something, you just get Google as a thing.
Yeah,
my point.
Yeah, honestly. So occasionally I'll come across something and I'm like, right, somebody else has had this problem. And against my better judgment, I will sit there and I will debate it, and I will go, okay, I'm going to ask the Facebook group. I have never yet got a good answer from the Facebook group. Never. It makes me angry every time.
I think the other thing about that era, let's get back to the cars, right? Rather than just the atmosphere that was there. Like, if you were to give me like 3 cars each that are max power era, what would you say?
I've got 3, and it's always the same. It's Saxo.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan, you dipstick.
You said Saxo. That's enough. You've been cut off. I mean, at this point, I'll admit that I actually owned a Saxo for a while.
There you go. Fixed it. Right, 106.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same car, essentially. Yeah. Corsa.
Escort.
There you go. I wasn't expecting an Escort from anybody, so there's one of them. Bryn.
I mean, yeah, it's Saxo, it's 106, and it's Corsa.
Clio.
Saxo,
Civic.
Saxo, Corsa, Vauxhall Nova.
Nova, yeah.
Nova, wasn't expecting anyone to drop that one.
Civics
so
aren't really...
let me carry on this list. Lotus Carlton.
Yeah.
Good. Cool.
Yeah.
The Mark IV Escort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a TVR Cerbera that was doing the rounds at one point. Astra Coupe. That was a common one.
Oh, Astra GXI.
Renault Laguna.
Oh, God.
My dad had a Laguna.
The cars that nobody should have modified.
Escort Cosworth.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at
and by far the one that at that particular point in my life I really wanted, the Renault 5 GT Turbo, and I would still have one.
Is that a max power car?
It is a max power car.
So I'm just looking at the top end of Google, and there's we've missed the other Peugeots. There's a 206, a 306, and I think what is a 406, 405, 406.
The 205. I tell you a thing that Bryn would have been really into, I think, during the max power era. Is that weird bit we went through, right? Of putting 2 engines in cars, one at the front, one at the back. I think you'd have been into that just as an engineer, Bryn.
It's a Polo, yeah.
I'm a purist. 1 engine, make it bigger.
Why not 2?
I just don't like it. It's all kinds of disgusting.
It's not all kinds of disgusting. It is not all kinds of disgusting, mate.
It's an old school Fiesta here as well.
Yeah. 206 is quite...
The BMW E30 is a max power era car.
There's a guy going around Hertfordshire that's got one of them. He's Mr. Iceman or something. He's got like 1 million speeds in it.
Of course he has.
I can't say think I had ever seen a max power-y typed BMW. Were they still kind of too expensive then?
No, they
Let's have a
weren't.
look. Max power BMW.
This is the thing. So the max power era to me, as I say, isn't all big mental body kits and Larry colours. There was a lot of stuff kicking about that was still modified in a similar vein, but was not in your face Larry. There was show-winning Ford RS turbos that were white and low. I mean, there's genuine, right? There is genuine max power era GTRs.
There's two differences, I think. Max power that most people think of is the Need for Speed, but a max power era use is not. It's just the car scene in general at that time. That's what I think the confusion is between us.
No,
us three, yeah.
Because to me, all those max power cars were still max power cars. There's RS Cosworths that had magazine features that weren't larily modified in max power.
But were they Sex Spec? They probably weren't Sex Spec.
They weren't Sex Spec, no.
Okay, so maybe we should be saying Sex Spec like the rest of the world does.
Yeah, because that's what
I think that's the thing. You know, you've got this Sex Spec image of things that are Larry bright colour wide body kit, full leather matching interior including the dashboard, 500 TVs, 30,000 speakers, all that stuff. But
awful choices in colours. Let's just put that one in there.
What was that, Brent?
Awful choices in colours, like, I don't know, white and red. Yeah. Unacceptable combination.
Green and yellow.
Oh God, there was so much of that.
I remember seeing a really bright green with a red interior that just reminded me of a watermelon.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking at the moment. What is it? Lotus Carlton, Vauxhall Carlton, whatever it was called, painted in bright yellow with bright yellow tri-spoke wheels.
Yep.
There was a lot of that matching the bodywork wheel colour with the wheel.
Hang on,
the bodywork colour with the wheel colour.
Are they MX-5 wheels?
No.
And just so that for those people of my age, what Matt is talking about is Project Thunder, which is like a really, really well-known Lotus Carlton.
Is it?
Yeah. Yellow 3 spokes. It's got a slightly lower tone yellow wave that runs through the bottom of the car.
Yes. Yeah. Are you looking at? Have you got the picture?
Yeah, that's the one.
Has it got? Hang on.
Project Thunder. It's a really famous build.
Has it got 2 spoilers?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't find it. Oh God! Oh God!
Your eyes.
Did you just Google Project Thunder, Brent?
Oh God, it's hideous.
I have a question.
It was a competition. It was a competition giveaway from Max Power.
Before competition raffle giveaway things were a proper thing.
I've got one. So if you used to build a Max Power or Sex Spec car now for a show,
yeah,
you've got for 2022 USC show and shine, whatever.
Okay.
What would you build?
What would I build?
Clarification. Are we talking about what you think the best one to build would be, or what the most quintessentially max power one would be?
No, what would you build? And budget is not unlimited, but it's achievable.
What's the budget?
Whatever, like, I'm not talking millions of pounds, but something that you could afford to spend on it.
Renault GT5 Turbo.
Well, they're expensive at the moment.
Yeah.
Because they're classics.
I think weirdly I'd pick an Audi TT. I don't know why.
Which shape? What, the older one, the bubbly one?
The real old one, the bubbly one from like the early 2000s. But I'd make sure I get the all-wheel drive version, so I can actually move my stereo around.
What would you do to it? What would you do?
Stupid body kit.
Bren, where are you at?
See, I can't think about this and not go in character, right? I think there are far more better cars that I can do than this.
Well,
but if I was going to build...
Quickly fetch your Burberry cap then, Bren.
Yeah.
We're going on an adventure.
You have to go in character with this. So if I'm doing a max power era car, it's a Toyota Celica, the front wheel drive version that looks like it's a rear wheel drive, because that's the epitome of that kind of trash. It's gonna have the bug lights. It's gonna have the big Y wing where the end plate thingies go up like that, but the wing's down here. And it's got to have like the valancy side skirty, all of that. But Celica to me is the epitome of when you see one of all those body kits, and it's just.
I think the weird thing for me with the Celica, just kind of off topic, is it's a front wheel drive car, and you think it should be a rear wheel drive car because it's a coupe and that's what it looks like. Then you see a rear wheel drive converted one, and you think, well, that looks odd because it's front wheel drive. It's really odd.
Yeah. Also, of the 4 people here, 4 of you, raise your hand if you would put a tribal, tear, or dragon sticker down the side.
I've done it in Need for Speed, so it was the thing at the time.
It was.
I would go for some form of SUV, but
actually, what you've just said about that is it wasn't the thing at the time. I have never seen anybody legitimately have a tear or a dragon down the side of their car.
But you play Need for Speed and it was all over it, and that's what they all had.
Don't ask me what my actual real car's going to look like in a few weeks.
Have you got tribal?
I've said go as mental as you can.
I really hope there's tribal.
I hope it's
really
tribal.
big flames.
Can we just send it? Can we send a copy of this episode to whoever it is that's doing it?
Yeah.
Make it tribal, please. Make it tribal.
I'd make an SUV.
Mike Tyson's face.
What, mismatch as well? So one, like the driver's side has got the tattoo, but nothing else.
Yeah.
If you're doing SUV, then Milton, are we talking? It's going to be an Escalade, presumably.
I was going to say, yeah.
No, mate. Oh, because we can't. But something like BMW X5 or something massive, but then slam it down.
Okay.
So it's not an off-roader. Because I think some of the SUVs look really cool, but they're just miles too high. Or the new crossover cars.
That's because you're short.
It was an X. I can't remember if it's an X3 or 5. One of them that it has really big wheels anyway, like disproportionately big wheels. And I've seen one of those slammed, and oh my god, it looked like an actual Hot Wheels toy in a good way.
The X6 looks good slammed.
I'm just looking at the BMW. I've just stuck it into Google and put slam BMW X5, and actually, what they all look like is the X5M, because that is lowered to an actual low height, so it's not an off-road car anymore. So it looks like what I expected, essentially.
Milton's fully going and hunting something special out.
I tell you what though, if I was going to go out and build a Sex Spec car that was all about the speakers and the stereo, I'd get an old Mazda pickup truck. Yeah. Just speakers all the way down the bed.
I think the most important thing about the Max Power that we really need to bring back, that it wouldn't hurt anyone to just have a little bit more of, is just like respect the work that someone's doing on their car. Because I remember there was a kid local to me who just had to DIY everything because he didn't have a great paying job or anything like that. And his car wasn't the best in the local scene. But he was proud of it, and rightly so, because he'd done everything himself. And that's the thing you don't get anymore.
I remember I painted my wiper, because I don't have a scuttle. Yeah. You could see the wipers. I masked them off, and I painted them yellow, because the car was green, and so I had yellow accents in it. And I was happy with it.
Yeah.
But we've all been there, though, because you
now look at me.
When you modify your car on a budget, you want to modify your car, so you find really, really cheap stuff to do.
Yeah, you go through the top 10 things to do on a budget.
So yeah, after that epic whooshy thing, because...
Explosion!
No more explosions.
Bam, can I ask for one more thing? You don't have to do Eddie editing. Editing. Can we have a slap that's explosion?
You want a slap? We can have a slap that says explosion.
Yeah.
Explosion.
Yeah, shooting the shift slap with an explosion on it.
That's an idea. Shooting the Shift, explosion, slap, limited edition.
They're all limited edition.
A little picture of Milton though, like doing this.
Well, the ballerina one that. But,
Yeah.
we need to make that happen.
How does do that?
I'll get artwork on it. They've got a backlog of about 4 months worth of designs.
Okay, so thanks for watching Shooting the Shift. Remember to like, subscribe, because Bam's got some editing and.
Yeah.
If
the art department needs to go.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do you a deal, right? Everybody that wants a Milton Explosion sticker, when we get to 500 subscribers, I'll pull my finger out and do it.
What are we on? 200 at the moment?
206.
How do you buy subscribers?
In the meantime, if you want a Milton Explosion sticker, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, just everyone comments.
If there's 50 of you, I'll do a limited edition run of them anyway.
For £19.50.
No, for the normal £3, Milton. With free postage.
That comes with free post. Oh, that's a bargain.
It's a bargain.
That's sales right there. Sales right there.
Now we've done some brand posting. I find it weird that you lot are people I associate with who weren't around in the Max Power area. Like,
oh, Matt was. Sorry, Matt.
No, I was.
Matt was around when the dinosaurs were around.
Sorry, Matt.
Milton set me up.
Matt's gonna give me the biggest bear. He's gonna give me the biggest bear hug when I see you next, aren't you, Matt?
I cannot wait for you to punch in one of us. So following that whooshy thing. I find it weird that you like Bryn, you're like what, 25? 26? And that, like, I forget that you're not all as old as me when we're talking about this stuff. So I look back on it and I'm like, I remember reading the magazine when I was 7, 8. And like the early part of the Max Power era wasn't that mental body kit thing, but the Max Power era did that thing that everything does. So think hot rods, right? That ultimately spawned rat rods to just be an antithesis to it. And then you get OEM Plus as the antithesis to that final over-the-top bit of Sex Spec. Right? So it does that thing. It does the car scene just runs in cycles. And we've had years and years and years of clean cars. And now the antithesis to that is wide body kits, Larry liveries, car as low as you can get it.
What do you think the next trend is going to be? So Max Power is it going to come full circle and go back to Sex Spec and stuff?
I think we're going to cherry pick elements of Sex Spec, but not go full Sex Spec. So I think we're going to keep the air ride. We're going to keep the wide ass body kits, but front and rear bumpers are going to come back along with the bolt-on arches. And that sort of thing. Neons are already coming back. Everybody's putting neons on.
Neons
now.
never.
I say neons. They're LEDs now, but they're better because the LEDs they're easier
technology
to fit and they're tiny. So
actually, while we're talking about neons, Street Glow, send me some free stuff.
Oh, I'd love some proper decent neons. They're just a ball of light.
I would love to have a Street. I had a Street Glow set on my Mini.
They're proper neons. They were neon tubes, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it came from. They were genuinely, when they first came about, properly neon
my
tubes.
Street Glow set was, in fact, like one of their first versions of an LED strip. But they put the LED strip inside a plastic version of the neon tube.
Yep. Not like today's technology. Look, Bryn's got here.
Yeah. It's a good point, though, because the first ever modification I did to any of my cars was some LED, I don't think they were LED, but they were light tubes that went on the bottom of my 306.
I had some some tube neons on a sub that cracked because the sub came loose of its mountings and hit a boot under acceleration. That was sketchy, having glass all over my boot. So I think what would I change about the Max Power era? Less glass in my lighting installs.
Well, you can get plexiglass now that's plastic and
yeah. That's
it. Everything will be made out of plastic now.
Yeah, it's all moved on. But I think like I look back on it and I genuinely think if we get back to those days of, and I think we're going back that way slowly.
I don't think we're going to go full as far as it
full
was.
Sex Spec. No.
I think we're going to cherry pick the best bits.
I mean, attitude wise, right?
Yeah.
I am not. Violet Money is not the only brand that runs around with likes be happy stickers and tells people to do whatever the hell they want and says stop worrying about if the car's finished before you come and hang out with us on a stand. Just come and hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why when we went to Yakushi last year, the only show we went to, I just took my daily.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about the Max Power era was it was perfectly acceptable for me to drive around with an unpainted body kit on my car. No one, like, you wouldn't turn up at a meeting and someone go, you've not even bothered to paint it, mate.
Partly a lot of people do that now, though, because it's all gel coats, isn't it? And it's either black or white.
Partly because during that era, I think people were a little bit more scared of getting punched for saying stupid stuff as well.
Because you said it to the face, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nowadays, because you wouldn't go say it to someone's face, you actually look at it and go, oh,
you
actually...
take a photo of it and joke about it on the internet.
Yeah, you actually talk to them, you see, yeah, I spent the whole weekend with my dad. He was teaching me how to do fiberglass. This is my first time.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, look, but you could see the effort and actually, I could see the respect there.
You'd sit there and you'd kind of go, you know, someone said I've done that with my dad at the weekend, and you'd be like, cool. Do you need a hand painting it? Do you need a hand? Is there any bits you want help with? That was the attitude.
Nowadays you don't get that.
No, now you get Google how to paint.
Yeah.
Google how to properly paint that surface before you do it, and that's not the way to do it, and it upsets me.
Here's some information.
Genuinely, that was Google, by the way.
I don't think the internet has made some DIY stuff really bad. So if I want to go and learn how to prep a panel to paint it, I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to find somebody who's done it, who knows what they're talking about.
There is.
And we'll go through it and explain it to me in quite a lot of detail, meaning that I get a not bad result from watching that tutorial. But if you go all the way back to 2004, back before, I don't know whether YouTube was 2006 or so, but back before you could easily search for stuff online to find a guide to do it, there's not really, you just sort of guess and go at it and read instructions on packets, which aren't always the best.
I think essentially the car scene was a nicer place when we had to sacrifice a robot every time we wanted to get online. That's that noise. That's murdered robots.
Yeah.
Right? And genuinely.
Oh, he's on standby.
He's on standby.
He's turned off, boys.
The internet's just lagged.
Who's on standby?
Me.
Oh, the old man's gone to sleep in his chair.
Oh, is he thinking?
I think so.
Is that what a thing is behind his head? Is that his brain
waves?
Loading
bar, Milton.
Oh, it's a Microsoft loading bar because it never finishes, right?
Yeah.
6 hours remaining.
So what I was saying was that I do genuinely think that bar that Milton said earlier, that people just go to other places to get the job done, right? So people expect everything to be at a professional standard, and it doesn't need to be.
No.
It can be just right.
As long as they don't claim it's the best ever.
Yeah.
So if I do something myself and say this is this is a showroom quality paint job, and it was done with a rattle can and sandpaper after the fact, it's not the best you can get.
It probably didn't help that there was a big spate of a lot of people doing their own car with rattle cans and matte paint, and they all looked awful, and everybody on the internet told them so they don't bother trying anymore.
Montana graffiti paint.
You can do great things with graffiti paint. You look at the Human Complete cars, the blue glitter. they look awesome.
But they weren't going to that effort. They were just spraying it straight on top of the existing paint without
barely
doing prep
clean
work or finishing work. And people were calling them out on that, so people stopped trying. And I don't think that's the right approach. You need to try, but you need to actually put some thought into it and actually put some effort into it.
But there's a difference between calling people out and going, "You've done that wrong," and saying, "The paint will bind better if you key the surface."
Yep.
You know, they are two very different ways of approaching the same problem.
I have an answer. I have a question.
One of them is quite frankly being an arsehole for the sake of being an arsehole and almost schoolyard bully levels of respect. And the other one is being a decent human being. Yes, Milton.
Can I change my Sex Spec car, please, from the SUV? Can I change it?
What do you want?
I want a bus.
You can't have a Sex Spec stripper bus.
I don't want a stripper. I just want so I can have somewhere with all my friends.
If you have a Milton, if you have
which would all fit in an SUV because they're all here.
Milton, if you build a Sex Spec bus and it doesn't have a stripper pole in it, you are disrespecting the era, sunshine.
I was actually reading a description of the Max Power magazine, and at one point it was described as bottom shelf porn.
So coming back to Bryn being the controversial one for a minute.
Wow, Bryn, that was nasty.
I think
you need Jesus.
I think the really telling thing is, so Max Power's peak circulation was 237,894 copies of an issue. That fell by 2010 to 20,589.
I think that was with the change of times, though. I can't remember last time I brought a magazine. I used to always buy the Xbox magazines.
I bought Redline every week until it was cancelled, which I can't remember when that was.
And I think,
it's a thing. You find everything online.
But then you think about Kelsey Media now as well, and they've taken away Jap Performance. Banzai's gone. They're just it's all falling away because people on YouTube make their own video magazines.
But it's not just that. If I want to go for a magazine quality feature of a car, they still exist out there. You just have to go to the likes of Speed Hunters. And what you're looking at on their website is the same thing, but it's online. You don't have to go and pay for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what killed off a lot of magazines, is the fact that you can get the same thing online for free.
I do miss because you'd read a magazine, you'd flick through it and you'd go, "Oh, that's an article about game I want to read. I'll read that later." And you flick through and then you flick through and you read that.
You fold the corner of your magazine, right, so that you can save the article that you want to read later on.
Yeah, say you've not got much time, or you're not in the right time space.
What I ended up doing with Redline was actually taking scissors to it, cutting out all of the cars that I liked, and then basically made a mosaic across my bedroom wall of all the cars I liked.
What's Bryn thinking?
He's plotting a thing.
You still can fold the corners over and come back to it later. It's called a tab, and I have 200 of them.
It's also called a bookmark. So what you do is you bookmark it, and then you close your tab, and then you can find it again later without having 200 tabs open.
I think
and 300 gigabytes used of RAM for Google Chrome.
How many tabs have you got open, Bryn? Is it 200?
Not many. I reinstalled my OS the other day, so I think I've only got 16 open at the minute.
Only 16.
On my phone, I've got one. It's for rev limiter gauges.
They are nice, by the way. No, I think overall,
group buy of rev limiter gauges.
Stop stroking your nipples, you weirdo.
Wait for Thanksgiving because he always has a sale.
Oh, shall I get explosion ones?
Explosion!
Well, when it gets to like 8,000 RPM, instead of red line, it's just explosion, yeah?
Yeah. That's what's going to happen to your engine.
No, because he's designing it, and the goal is 300 horsepower and up to 8,000 RPM.
But you get to 8,001 RPM, and it will go explosion.
8,000 RPM. No, 9,000 RPM is doable in an MX-5 engine if you buy expensive bits.
Yeah, that's the key. That's why 8,000 it's an achievable goal, right, Bryn?
Yeah.
You could do it, right, Bryn?
12,000 in a rotary.
Oh, shut up with your Doritos. That's right, Bryn, isn't it?
Sure.
You could do it, Bryn.
Yeah.
Explosion.
So, Bryn can do it. And this is the thing of the Max Power era. You'd get all your mates around the house and work on the car. That bit's not died yet.
It has a bit.
Corona has put a stop to that.
Oh, that is fun.
But the thing is, even before that, we still did it. We went round to your house and did all your LEDs around the rear lights of the Spike.
Yeah, 3 different times after we tried one prototype version and then I changed my mind twice.
Yeah, but there was 4 of us around at your house doing it.
Yeah.
And we did your shell swap. Your shell swap.
Yeah, we did my shell swap. We did it when we fitted Bryn's roll bar.
And I can't wait. I genuinely cannot wait for us to get back to...
Yeah, we had a barbecue while fitting Bryn's roll bar and we did a time lapse and everything.
I can't wait for us to get back.
For some reason they were eating kale.
Yeah, I don't know why he brought kale and why it was raw. Don't eat raw kale, kids. Like, that's what I learned. Massage
so
it.
back to the Max Power area rather than vegetarian.
Kale.
But that was the point. You can still get together with your mates and do what you were doing.
Yeah, if you're going to get together with your mates and work on cars, don't bring kale.
Bring cucumbers and lube, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Warm butter.
Homosexual Team Buttercup. Incomplete.
I
Still can't say it.
I think that's probably, to be fair, I think that's probably a good point to end the episode. So.
I think so. I think we've broken Bryn, so I think we've got no more for tonight.
Explosion.
A few moments later.
So yeah, I think the things that I'd bring back from the Max Power era are A, cheaper Renault 5 turbos. B, more underglow, more lighting. I think lighting needs to be part of things again in a big way.
Engine bay lighting.
Yeah.
Don't get that anymore.
Here's the thing we've not actually discussed, and we're going to have to discuss now because it's probably going to annoy Bryn the final time. He might quit after I mention this. Split bonnets.
Oh, God.
That just seems really practical. You only need to work on the cold side of the engine?
Yeah.
Fine. Keep that turbo out of the way.
Because they opened the wrong way to be useful. You go, I only need to open this side of the... Oh, okay. Now the bonnet's in my face. Well, I'll go around the front and work on it like a normal car!
What about the bonnets that open like this, Bryn?
AIDS.
So they're split, but it's even worse.
Pure AIDS.
No?
All right, Bryn. All right, so... Let's see what else we can get him with.
Lambo doors.
Lambo doors, yeah.
Suicide doors.
Lambo doors, cool. Suicide doors, dumb.
Why suicide doors dumb?
What about suicide Lambos?
To open backwards.
What about suicide Lambos?
So that your mate can drive, you can be hanging outside on your skateboard and the door pushes you.
I want suicide Lambo doors now, so they open like that.
Isn't that how Koenigseggs work?
Yeah.
They go forwards.
They go forwards?
No, they sort of pivot.
Yeah,
So those Lambo door kits, right, in themselves are a massive chunk of effort to fit.
Oh, yeah.
They're also massively expensive. They're like
and massively heavy.
1 million tons.
But they're cool.
Yeah.
The Firefly car's got them actually on the Mark II. He's put Lambo doors on it.
I think they're coming back. That's coming a lot more
so
frequent.
quick rundown of what we're bringing back. Lighting in interiors. Split bonnets.
Lambo doors.
Yeah.
Spinners.
Roof scoops.
Yes, roof scoops.
Functional or non-functional.
Only on a rally car.
Roof scoops on everything, Milton. Let's roof scoop your 5.
Only. So the only way I'd ever fit
just at the front without even any roof on it.
The only reason I'd ever fit a roof scoop to my car is if I could connect it to my helmet.
Which you can do. You can do that because they do that from side vents and stuff.
Yeah. but do it on a roof scoop.
Yeah.
So if you've got this far in the video, you must have liked it because we've rambled on quite a bit.
So spinners. Would you bring back spinners, Bryn?
Absolutely not. You know that.
I don't.
Oh,
I thought I'd go back in time and erase them the first time round.
But the other thing to mention with spinners is they were all chrome.
Chrome wheels.
Yeah.
Johnny's are back.
Chrome wheels are they're always stupid.
Yeah, they are.
I've got my race car, so I'm going to put the heaviest, widest, heaviest, offset, heaviest wheels I can fit on them.
Okay.
You're feeling okay. That was a me rant.
I am a bit warm. Channeling the inner rad.
Inner Bryn.
Yeah. Inner
I
Bryn.
think ultimately, actually, the thing that we would all bring back from those days is a bit more DIY, a bit more variety, done in
individuality.
interesting ways,
Bit more community.
Yeah, and just respecting people's range time. That's not to say there wasn't drama in the car scene back then. No. And I might be looking at it all through rose-tinted glasses. But certainly, there were less keyboard warriors because
I didn't have keyboards back then.
No,
there was a lot less internet.
There was a lot less bandwidth. You didn't have you wouldn't waste your time dialing up just to write a rant.
Yeah, there's no instant.
You're not going to sit there and sacrifice a robot for your computer to go at you for like 10 minutes while you try and connect to the internet just to go, I hate your build.
Yeah, there was no instant messaging, is there? That's what it is nowadays. You take photo, post, done. Instant.
Yeah, posting while you're at the show.
There was Yahoo Messenger, Milton.
When MSN, there you go.
Yeah, Yahoo Messenger and MSN.
Yeah, but that was not.
But there was less. Everybody has a camera in their hand. There's no posting to Facebook right there and then when you stood there.
You had to think before you put something on the internet because you really had to want to spend 3 days uploading that photo.
Yeah.
So I think the end of this episode is be a little bit kinder to people.
Costs nothing.
It costs nothing to say nothing if all you've got is a bad thing to say.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Upbeat and family-friendly ending to an episode. I've been
Bam. Much.
That's been Milton. He's been a chrome set of spinners. And that's Matt. Don't forget, later on this week, we have Cheryl's box.
You might get chlamydia from that.
I'm going to go rummaging in an Australian box later this week, boys.
Make sure you wear rubber gloves. Explosion.
Flashy lights.
Why would you want flashy lights? It's so immature. And cut.